Hi, I'm Twin the Tinker, and I don't do tech reviews. But I haven't seen anyone doing this, so this is the Sony Nx80 on the DJI RSC2 gimbal. I wanted to see if it fitted, and I couldn't find any videos on YouTube, so I'm making one. It does fit. There's your answer. Clearance is fairly tight. I can almost poke a finger down between the standard battery and the gimbal itself. But I can't fit the extended battery on there. It has to fit with the standard battery that comes with it. You can keep the lens hood on. That's fine. And it will balance with the Rode Filmmaker receiver on there as well. And it's got that cord tucked up underneath. And it is nice and stable on there. Does all the things. You can confuse it, and the lens hood can hit the can hit if you go sort of that level, but or over the top. But it's generally pretty good. So there we go. And I've confused it. Dude, you're upside down. If that does happen, you just hit that little power button, puts the motors to sleep, and once anaesthetized, you can then set it up again. And a cool feature that you'll see in other videos, if you triple tap the, oh hello, there we go, triple tap the trigger and it turns round. Because you've got the 1/4" screw mount in the bottom of the gimbal, you can also put a monopod on it, which means that you can actually use it as a really effective crane. So I can start all the way down here and slowly raise it to get some really cool shots. I can go all the way up. And I can do that sideways. Oh, not quite. I don't think the poor old monopod's going to cope with that. Let's try that again. Up and down like that. Let's try and get something in the foreground. So start down here with the grass. And work our way up and turn to look out over the lake. Now, one of the big problems with these Sony NX Z90 series cameras is the wide angle isn't quite wide enough to do sort of self-filming type things. And that's what I bought this camera for making solo adventure documentaries. Now, being able to have it on a gimbal and on a monopod means that I can get enough distance to get a sort of self-filming without all the distortion that you get from shooting with an action camera. I can also, do some really sort of far off stuff. Like that's a fairly long way away. It's about 1.5 meters away from me now. And it's all really stable. So I suppose the next test is how does it go with higher speed sort of movement? Given that, we're walking on pretty rough ground here and it's doing all right. So this is on the gimbal, but with all the axes locked out and walking along. Okay, this is running flat out down the cricket pitch with the RSC. Whew, that's as fast as I'm sort of prepared to run holding a, camera and gimbal. question that I had when I was really sort of looking at this was how stable does it work at longer focal lengths? So here is full wide, and here it is at maximum optical, and I can zoom around, pan around at full optical. Now it's not a completely still day, it's fairly windy, and that's doing pretty well. So let's go to full clear image zoom, that one there. So that is full zoom without going into the digital rubbish. And let's just shield that microphone a little bit. Yeah, on a fairly windy day, and that's pretty good. Let's do some other tests. Of course, it also comes with a little tripod, so you can put it down on the side of the road and do drive-by shots, walk-by shots, those sort of things. The modes like the 360 roll also work if you want to make your viewers completely sick. And then of course there's the thing that everyone's been raving about with this gimbal, which is it locks for transport. I can lock all the axes in and just put it over my shoulder and walk to the next spot, which is really nice. This means you don't have to worry about the camera flopping around and damaging the motors and damaging the mounts. It's working its way loose, just stays there. It's great. Final little details to cover. As I said before, there's a small amount of clearance, but everything works pretty well otherwise. The gimbal is designed to set up and go around in such a way that it doesn't sort of cause issues. The only thing that does is sometimes that you need to take the lens cover off, or lens hood off, otherwise it can crash into itself, particularly if it gets into a bit of a bind that way up. So that's just something to be aware of. And it does occasionally crash when you've got that on. And I just hit the power button and that puts all the motors to sleep. But the great thing is that it stabilizes the camera so well. Is that going to go on? No, it's all right. But you can hit all the buttons and you can do everything, and it doesn't really, so I'll say that. Some of them overpower the other motors, but you know, you can press a lot of the buttons and you can change settings and things, generally without overpowering the motors and having to stabilize the camera with two hands, which is great if you've only got one hand to do things with. But yeah, very, very happy with it. Does it work with the big handle on top? Oh, look, there's probably some way you can make it work with heaps of counterweights mounted somewhere under here. But in reality, you're just not really going to use it that way. If you want XLR audio, it might just be a case of, well, you look at put it on a tripod rather than on this format. That said, you can, you know, if you just want to take one bit of equipment to a shoot, you can just turn it off, lock out the axes, and just use this as your only support. You know, for instance, if I'm on an expedition and where I want to do, you know, some sort of interview with a ranger or to camera piece, lock that one out. It works as a static tripod as well, and I can bring along the XLR handle and rig up multiple microphones and things on that one. So it's a really versatile little bit of kit. At $700, it's around the same as what you pay for, you know, a reasonable quality tripod, and yet it does so much more. So this one's definitely staying in the kit. I like it. I'm Twin the Tinker, and this has been my review, I suppose. More explanation video of the Nx80 and Z90 family of camcorders and how they fit on the DJI RSC2 gimbal. Catch you around.